Hi, I want to speak to you just a little bit today about the importance of showing up and voting in your local school board elections. School board elections place leadership in the governing body of the school where you are at. And quite honestly, they have a large and deep impact on everyone in the community. It's been quite perplexing to me as I've looked at recent turnout and kind of you go back and look at the voter turnout in school board elections. It's very low. It just does not make sense to me why it is so low and always seems to be that way. I don't know if it's a general lack of understanding around what a school board is and what they do, or if it's just a lack or disinterest in care in who's there and what decisions they make. My hope is that it's the former, that it's just not understanding the importance of what a school board does and the decisions that they make. Now, I know that school board elections are not exactly high on the radar. They're usually at odd times throughout the year. They don't align with any other campaigns that are going on, like mayor or president or governor, those types of very significant elections. However, when you understand the impact that the school board really has on your daily life, I think it's revealed that it's extremely important that you show up, and I hope to bring that out today. So what is a school board? School board is a governing body of individuals that are placed over the leadership of a school, and honestly they make a lot of decisions. They do a lot of things. I think it's best to categorize it today, for today, into three buckets, and that's academic decisions, athletic decisions, and personnel-based decisions. Now, those categories don't necessarily define everything that a school board does. Certainly it's very broad, and the depth of how deep they go is extremely deep as well as far as those decisions. But for the purposes of today, if you could think about it in those three ways: academic decisions, athletic decisions, and personnel-based decisions. Now, certainly there's two people that are out there today. Either you have kids or you don't have kids. And if you do have kids, the reason should be quite obvious as to why you should vote in those elections. You have kids that are school aged, the direct impact that they have on you is hopefully obvious. If not, I will reveal that. Those of you without kids, just hang in there for a few moments. I hope to reveal to all of us today that it absolutely applies to everyone inside a voting district to go out and show up in numbers. Now, if you have children that are in the school system, you think about it in this way. The school board is impacting every part of your child's life directly. From the moment they get on the bus or get into the school system to the moment they come home, they are impacted by the decisions that are made inside that school system. And you are too. As a parent, you're extremely involved or impacted by the decisions that they make. So let's think about this. What kinds of decisions can a school board make that impact you or your child and/or your child? It could be something simple like a textbook, the type of curriculum that is used in a school system. Maybe it's technology changes or upgrades in a school system, or the lack of upgrades and the void in technology in some school districts. Maybe it's something more complex, like how to address a population boom, a huge influx of enrollment, and the school infrastructure doesn't have the appropriate capabilities to keep track of that. They have to make decisions on how to address the need for additional space. Maybe it's whether to include elementary or middle school sports and have a true sports program in the lower levels, not necessarily junior high and high school, but including that at the early stages in elementary and middle school. What about the starting and ending times of school? When your child has to get on the bus or when your child has to arrive at school, does that not impact you? How early you have to get up or how early you have to do those types of things, or your work day or work schedule? For those of you that are in larger school districts, zoning is sometimes an issue. That's several elementary schools or several middle schools, and depending on where you live, you are placed in one zone or another. Now, sometimes you are not necessarily in that zone. You're in an overflow zone and you have to transfer your child extremely far or drive them, or they're on the bus for an extended amount of time. Those are all decisions that are coming from and are approved by your local school board. It is absolutely critical that we understand that everything in our child's day, from the bus they ride to the school they go to, the teacher that's teaching them, the values and characteristics of that person, the curriculum that they're being taught from, this all is a part of what a school board does. So hopefully I've convinced those of you with children as to the importance of getting out there and showing up in broad numbers. Now what about those of you without kids? You're probably sitting there thinking, hey, I'm sleeping in. I don't have to get my kids on the bus. You know what, you guys, I can wave to you on my way to work. And true, it's not a direct impact from a children point of view. However, if you pay taxes, which I'm sure many of us do, hopefully all of us do, you are a direct impact of school board leadership. You know, school boards get a significant amount of money from the state to run their programs and to do their things. However, if they need additional money for, let's say, athletics, or let's say, to going back to something I spoke to earlier, what if they need to address a population boom and they have to build or do something different? They have to get that money somehow. And if they don't address things appropriately, well, let's talk about this. They have to get money first by taxation. Those millage rates, the things that are placed on property values, those are all driven from school boards, and they have to self-fund in that way, and so it definitely impacts our bottom line. If you have someone ineffective in leadership and they are not making the right decisions, you will pay for that for years to come. I've seen that play out locally. We've been trying to get an appropriate addressing to our population boom since 5 or 6 years ago and cannot land on a decision. This is going to impact us for many years to come because the decisions have been delayed, they've been foregone, and now we're dealing with a major taxation just to address the school's lack of leadership that they should have had in place 5 or 6 years ago. The impact of leadership directly impacts the lives of our children. However, those of us without children, it directly impacts us with our bottom line as well. So children or no children, we are all impacted by the decisions that are made on our local school board. I speak to you today from personal experience. I ran for our local school board a few years ago. I campaigned extremely hard. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew where I stood on the issues, that I was very plain and simple as to how I would address things, and very pointedly on the hot button issues. You know, I was very naive in thinking that everyone, all the tax-paying citizens, that all the teachers, every parent out there understood the importance of who they were placing in these positions, that it was extremely important in showing up and electing. I was wrong. Would you know that less than 2% of the registered voters showed up to vote? When I did the math afterwards, I was alarmed to find that the voting people, the number of people that showed out to vote, were less than the number of faculty and teachers in the school system itself. Now, I lost the vote, but more than that, I lost confidence that people truly understood the value of what a school board does and who they're placing on these boards. You know, I said once during an interview with a local paper during our campaign that above anything else, I wanted to see record numbers come to the poll, that I wanted it said that win, lose, or draw, that people felt convicted enough that they wanted to show up to the polls in large numbers because it mattered, because their children's lives mattered, because their daily lives mattered, because it mattered, because solid leadership was important to them. It's simple. It's really, really simple. Voting is a right, and voting is a privilege. There's been a lot of bloodshed to give us that right. Now, every vote and every voting situation is extremely important, from presidential to on down to the state, and what we're talking about today in local levels. I want to encourage you all, be engaged. If for selfish reasons, do it for selfish reasons. Do it for your taxes. Do it for your kids. Do it because it's the right thing to do. But vote. Thank you very much.